What's up, YouTube? It is your favorite troll, and today we're going to go over the top 5 retro wrestling games of all time, going from the NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and the N64. All those other consoles like PlayStation and up, you're not in this list today. And of course, we will be also going over the arcade version of WrestleMania, which I actually enjoy, which a lot of people didn't. I'm not sure why, but that will not be part of that one on there. But we will be going over 30 years of wrestling gaming history. I mean, we all remember the iconic pro wrestling game on the NES with Starman. We all remember that star on the mask face. Wrestling was a huge staple back in the day with some of the iconic wrestlers that we had in the past. You guys can see it on my shirt. Those were like the people I grew up with so much back in the day. And what I loved about the new WWE 2K24 is that you have all those moments from past WrestleManias that you actually were able to experience and try to live on it all over again. And all these games that we're going to be talking about today have really hit me into a certain type of aspect of me wanting to go back and playing these games because they were so good. Now we're going to get into the list, and of course I want you all down below in the comments to comment your top 5 retro wrestling games while we're going down this list. Number 5 is no other than Saturday Night Slam Masters for the Super Nintendo. Saturday Night Slam Masters was released on the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, and the FM Towns Marty in 1993. The game's characters were designed Fist of the North Star Magna artist Tetsu Hara. Slam Masters was published by Capcom, starring Mike Hager from Final Fight as a supporting character. Despite not being a true wrestling game, players were able to initiate finishers when their opponent's health meter reached 0 and go for the pin. Additionally, the game supported up to 4 players with the use of super multi-tap and features from Fire Pro Wrestling style barbed wire landmine matches. The other cool feature of Saturday Night Slam Masters was the fact that you had intros for every single wrestler. It was kind of cool that you had that, you're able to see it. And I kind of like the whole entire design and the aspect of how the characters looked. But it's number 5 on my list, and now we go into number 4, which is no other than WWF No Mercy 2000 on the N64. No Mercy features various improvements over its predecessor, 1999's WWF WrestleMania 2000, such as improved graphics, a championship mode that allows players to participate in various branching storylines, and more in-depth character creation mode. The improvements made to the game, combined with serious vaunted gameplay and controls, garnished praise from critics upon release. Nevertheless, the game was faulted by some of its blocky graphics, slowdown, and the difficulty level of the computer-controlled opponents. In the years since its release, No Mercy has been regarded as one of the best wrestling games ever made, as well as one of the most standout titles for the N64. The game has maintained a strong, loyal fan base throughout the years, and various unofficial modifications for the game have been developed, altering, updating the game's graphics and sounds, and introducing different playable wrestlers to the game's roster. Now, let's be honest. No Mercy on the N64 was one of the greatest games I loved back in the day. And I loved all the characters you had in it. Now, before we go into the top 3, I want to give you some fresh digs from the WWE shop that you can score before WrestleMania 40 on April 6th with some newest apparels just in time, like the We Want Cody shirt or even the official gear of WrestleMania. You can click on the link right below where you'll be able to be sent right to the WWE shop and be able to check out everything they have to offer. Number 3 on the list is no other than WWF Raw from 1994. Released on the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, Sega 32X, Nintendo Game Boy, and Sega Game Gear. It was the 3rd release of the acclaimed published wrestling games developed by Sculpture Software for the 16-bit systems after WWF Super WrestleMania and WWF Royal Rumble. The game featured wrestlers such as Yokozuna, Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, Doink the Clown, and much, much more. WWF Raw was a big improvement over its predecessors and featured the new Bedlam match, which is the same as a tornado tag match in the WWE 2K series, the 12-man Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and regular singles and tag matches. More importantly, each wrestler felt more authentic and had their own signature finisher and mega moves which can knock their opponents out of the ring. I'll be honest, the fact that I was able to play with Doink the Clown or the 1-2-3 Kid back in the day was a huge thing for me. And I know you're saying, wait, but those are like mid-carders, they're not even high cards, and 1-2-3 Kid wasn't even popular until it became 6 with the NWO or for DX. But still, the 1-2-3 Kid with the iconic match that he had against Razor Ramon was one thing that I love so much, and I'm happy that he was able to get into a lot of these games. Number 2 on the list goes to Techno World Wrestling. Released in 1990, far and away the best NES wrestling game, Techno World Wrestling best captures the feel of pro wrestling. Well-designed wrestlers deliver power bombs and brainbusters, and the floor matches leads to fun gameplay. I mean, come on, you look at the box, it kind of looks like they're trying to show Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Hawk from the Road Warriors. I mean, Techno was a hit back in the day. They're like pretty much like the EA Sports of what we have now when it came to like NBA basketball and Tecmo Bowl. The game delivers an experience beyond its technical limitations. Use of wrestlers such as Mr. Tattoo, Mark Rose, or Julio Falcone, the Aquaman, and work your way up the ranks to meet Earl of Doom Blue King. The matches are bolstered by text commentary appearing at the bottom of the screen. This is the most complete package any wrestling fan is going to find on the system. It looks, sounds, and plays the most like the sports entertainment event it attempts to recreate. And now we get into the number 1 wrestling retro game for Troll. And I know it's for Troll because you guys are writing down below in the comments which ones are your favorite. And the number 1 game for me has to go with WCW versus NWO Revenge that came out in 1997 for the N64. I was a huge advocate for WCW back in the day. I love Sting. I love the NWO. I loved Hollywood Hulk Hogan. I love the whole entire package that was going on back in the day. And this game literally gave it all. Released in 1997 for the N64 game console. Released at the peak of World Championship Wrestling's dominance in the Monday Night War Tour, what was THQ's first foray into the N64 wrestling scene as a semi-sequel of the lesser-known WCW versus the New World for the PlayStation. It is the second best-selling wrestling game for the N64 console. World Tour introduced Asmic AKI critically acclaimed grappling system in which all moves are started by hold. Choosing to either tap or hold the A will subsequently produce either a weak or strong result once the move is performed. While a similar system is used for strikes, wrestlers can perform their signature taunts that help elevate their spirit guards and perform a special front and rear finishing moves when their gauge peaks. 20 of the game's wrestlers are from WCW or the NWO, while the rest are international wrestlers who are listed under fake names. Now, this is where like the forbidden door was actually broken off. Like you had wrestlers from, I think, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like I think you had like almost like, it was cool. Like it was something like you would like find like in AEW, and like let's say they had wrestlers from like Okada and Will Ospreay before they came to AEW, and they're more just like in New Japan. So it was something sort of like that, which would make me super excited because you're kind of fighting these other wrestlers and you make your own little tournaments like, oh, I'm gonna have the NWO versus WCW or the NWO versus New Japan and see who's gonna win these battles. It was just a great game back in the day, and it just really resonates with me now of what it was and what I want to probably play now if I were able to play a wrestling game as it was right now. So there you have it, my top 5. And honestly, I think it's a pretty good list. I mean, there were so many games to go through. I think Nintendo back in the day, and I have my hands up here because Nintendo back in the day had, I think it was like maybe like 20 games on the NES that were wrestling. And I remember one of them was like the blue steel cage you had on it. I remember once I went to the game store, and this is a story. My uncle would tell me, what game do you want? Do you want Super Mario Bros. 3 or do you want WWF Steel Cage? And I'm like, oh my God, Mario or Steel Cage, because I was a huge wrestling fan. I ended up getting Mario 3 because, I mean, obviously it's Mario. That's probably the best Mario game out there. It was so great. And then all these games came out and you were resonating with the stories. And sometimes you'll see like, oh, on the next episode of WCW, we're going to have Sting versus, I don't know, Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And you would put those matches in your, NWO Revenge game. And you're like, oh, I'm going to see who's going to win and stuff like that. Kind of like we do now. Like we'll get WWE 2K24 and put Cody versus the Roman and see who wins. Honestly, I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys like this list? Do you guys think to put something else in the top 5? Would you switch anything around that I've done? Let me know in the comments below. And I also want to know, we have a poll going up in the community tab where you guys can vote. Do you think Roman Reigns is going to win clean? Do you think Cody's going to win clean? Do you think The Rock is going to turn on Roman and help Cody win? Or do you think Seth is going to turn on Cody and join the bloodline? I think Cody Rhodes is going to win. I think The Rock is going to turn on Roman, setting up the SummerSlam match for them, or probably one for WrestleMania of next year. If you guys are liking this one, make sure to check out this one that's coming up here that YouTube is recommending all to you right now. And WrestleMania is April 6th. I'll be watching it in the comfort of my home. I hope you guys will too. And we'll do some predictions as well, who we think we're going to win these matches.